and welcome back to Automotive Tales. On today's episode, we're doing a fleet update on the Bentley Turbo R. So you'll have seen our previous videos where we got the car out and took it for a nice drive up in Yorkshire. Since then, we've discovered a few problems with the cars, so it's had to go in and have some work done. And it's caused us a few problems, as you'll see in this video. So what have we had to do to this car? So you'll have seen in a previous video, which I will link at the top of the screen, that we took the car out recently just to test it was all okay, and everything seemed to be hunky-dory. But we did get a bit of a warning the first time we opened throttles, which suggests that the fluid level that runs both the suspension and the braking systems on these complex S and Z chassis cars was a little bit low. So when you accelerate, what it does is it firms up the rear suspension to stop the car squatting, and that obviously used enough of the fluid to cause a low level warning, and as soon as we lifted off the throttle it went away. So we knew it needed to at least have some work done. But we thought we'd get another outing out of the car at least in 2021. So as things started to open up, we were able to attend once again the Concourse of Elegance down at Hampton Court Palace in London. Car did absolutely wonderful. However, on the way back, she decided to throw the toys out of the pram. So we got as far as Woking, and the air conditioning pump locked up completely on the car, which threw the belt for the air conditioning system. Unfortunately, once it locked up, we weren't able to pull over because there was nowhere safe to stop. So we had to keep driving until the belt eventually snapped and the noise went away. The next safe space to stop was a particular car manufacturer based in Woking. We ended up pulling into the entrance of McLaren, no less. Luckily, no major damage was done. We threw the belt off and we continued to drive home just without aircon. So we took the car back to storage, got it booked in to have the aircon system completely rebuilt, went to pick it up a few months later and got as far as Caffeine and Machine, which apparently is my favourite place to break down. So here we are in the Bentley Turbo R. We've just picked it up from storage and we've come for a drink at Caffeine and Machine, which you can't see out of the window, and there's a good reason for that. The bonnet's not just to show people the massive, great big 6.75 litre turbocharged engine. It's to try and diagnose why we've got no charging. So we got about a mile away from Caffeine and Machine on our first drive for ages in the car, and as soon as we got past 3,000 revs, we got a dashboard full of lights. So we've got a battery warning light down here and an ABS warning light there, and we have handily a nice little voltage meter here which had dropped right off the left hand side to sort of 11.5 volts, which tells me one thing: the alternator is not working. So on inspection, the alternator belt has decided it didn't really want to stay on the pulley. Luckily, a very nice chap called Karim from the storage place has put his tools in the car and is on the way to save the day. So we're going to see if we can get the belt, which still stayed in one piece, back on the alternator, enough to get it to Starman's, who are going to do some work on this. So what looks like it had been happening is that two belts have been running just slightly touching. So where the air conditioning pump had been failing, the bearings failing inside it, it had led the belt to not be running true. It had been running against the alternator belt, which had caused it to want to coil up. Now, while we were still driving that day, it seemed to be supple enough to stay on. As soon as it had had a chance to cool down and warm back up, it became too brittle and twisted, and it just kept throwing itself off. So unfortunately the car went on a trailer, and the wonderful folks, Dwayne and Kyle at Starman's, stayed late at work that day to have me deliver the car at something stupid like 7:30 at night, to then work on the problem. So they fixed the air conditioning, which solved the problem with everything else, because they put new belts on the alternator and it all ran fine. They did find a few other problems with the braking system. So while the fluid level was low, there was also a bit of a weep from one of the manifolds that runs all the different pipe work. If you've watched Hoover's garage, you'll see he had exactly the same problems with his Turbo R. It's a bit of a nightmare chasing these things around. However, unfortunately for Hoover, he's in Kansas. We are not. We are in the Midlands, in the UK. Which means if you need parts from Flying Spares, the world's best place to get your Rolls-Royce and Bentley spares, it's right next door to the specialist. In fact, it is about 50 yards that way. I can see the sign right here. And with that, we've arrived at Starman's, and we've arrived on time, which is a bloody first. So I'm going to stop waffling. I'm going to park this massive, great big Bentley up and help help Greg get the Rolls-Royce into the yard, because that ain't so easy. So I hope you found that interesting. Do stay tuned to the channel for more videos on both the Rolls-Royce and the Bentley. So the next video we're going to do is a back-to-back review of those two cars. And also check out the other content on the channel. We've got Project 944 that we're in the middle of restoring, although it did try and kill us this week, so go and check that out. And we've just started work on a Volvo 850 T5R, the Yellow Peril. So, like, share, subscribe, you know, all that sort of usual stuff, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye for now.